Dear brothers and sisters, our pleasure to greet you on Thanksgiving. As we prepare to get together with friends and family, it seems to us a time to take stock, to reckon just where we are at. A time to ask questions. It's not just about our individual lives, but about the life of the whole of America, of which we are constituents. It is not just the sum of individuals. The soul of America has a life of its own. And that soul is deeply troubled. We are overwhelmed by loneliness. Never before have people been so isolated, so remote, and so distant. If we exclude family members, more than half of Americans have no one with whom they can share their troubles and joys. We have become a nation of strangers. An estimated 43 million Americans over the age of 45 suffer from chronic loneliness. More than 25% of the U.S. population, a quarter of Americans, live alone. How sad it is to see people crossing the street hunched over in their cell phones. Meet the I generation, the generation of the iPhone, the iPad, and the iPod. They are the young Americans born after 1995, the successors to Generation X, and the first to spend their entire adolescence with smartphones in their hands. Members of the I generation spend more time in front of screens and less time interacting with one another than any previous generation. They communicate primarily online, through social media or text, not in person. Go to any pharmacy. Stand back and look at the people in the back lining up for prescription drugs. There's only one person at the counter at any one time. The others have to stand back 4 or 5 feet lest they infringe upon the privacy of the person being served. Look at their faces. How sad, how isolated, how forlorn. How silent are the streets. No one talks to one another. We are inundated. We are overwhelmed by things, and yet so impoverished. When I walk down the street, how rare it is for someone to smile and say good morning. Likes on Facebook are not quite the same. People are becoming increasingly desperate. Millions of Americans unable to face the spiritual desolation find no escape but into drugs. According to Mike Adams, the inimitable health ranger, a shocking scientific study published in the Annals of Internal Medicine finds that 38% of Americans were prescribed addictive opioid painkillers in 2015. A whopping 5% of American adults are currently abusing those opioids. The number of overdose deaths from pain medications has increased by more than 300% since 1999. According to the CDC, opioid drugs are now killing 33,000 Americans each year. With millions more Americans on psychiatric drugs, antidepressants, statin drugs, and chemotherapy, it's no exaggeration to say that America is drugged out. The opioid crisis has been making the headlines, but yet there is another, namely alcoholism. 1 in 8 Americans, or nearly 13% of the population, struggle with alcoholism. From 2006 to 2010 alone, excessive drinking led to 88,000 deaths. The short-term effects of excessive alcohol usage include injuries, motor vehicle accidents, falls, drownings, and burns. Then there are increases in violence of every sort. Also, in the long term, alcoholism promotes weight gain and fatty liver disease. It disrupts the microbes in your gut. This can weaken your immune system and make you more prone to inflammation and disease. In addition, excessive alcohol use increases your risk of chronic illness, including heart disease, liver disease, and cancer. And yet, there is still another crisis. More than a third of Americans are obese. It is estimated that by 2025, this could be as much as 45%. Think on it. In just 7 years, nearly half of Americans are obese. This is something new and without precedent. In our opinion, obesity is a cry from the soul. People are making themselves helpless as a way of reaching out, of getting the attention, the devotion they once had as children. An image emerges of an America in this, its 241st year. An America drugged out on prescription medications, inebriated on alcohol, and bloated, all to escape the pain of loneliness. Now we are seeing that in agriculture, sustainability does not compute. Sustainability doesn't do it. The word now in agriculture is regeneration. And not only in agriculture, but it's become all too apparent that regeneration and renewal must be the task of this generation. Surely, this is what Abraham Lincoln meant when out of the depths he prophesied a new birth of freedom. The longest journey begins with a single step. What better way to start than by getting together with friends and family and planting a garden? Get your hands and feet into the earth and restore a little bit of ground to aliveness. Plant a garden, a victory garden, for fall and winter, replete with lettuce, chard, parsley, spinach, and kale. It will repay you many-fold. If you live in an apartment, we urge you to join a community garden. Work there with brothers and sisters. What better step to heal, restore, and regenerate this American earth? Thank you, brothers and sisters. It's our privilege to greet you on this festival of Thanksgiving, and thank you for allowing us to take the liberty of presenting you our perspective as we see it, the tasks that we are duty bound to do as Americans. Thank you indeed, and bye for now.